This next individual is one of the kindest, most intelligent, funniest, like her sense of humour, her dry wit, her ability to laugh at almost anything, is almost second to none. She's fluent in French. She's the hottest doctor that's ever been in space. And I have the pleasure of calling her Space Mummy. Without further ado, please, my space mum, Gates McFadden.
So today I was told they wanted me to reenact the episode Genesis. Thank God, no. So this is really the first time I've done this. Very interesting. It was probably my favorite week in all of the 7 seasons I've had on Star Trek. Because I do love directing, and I had worked on Labyrinth, which was really wonderful. In terms of learning about lenses and cameras and things, that was really great. And I really did adore directing for theater. That's, I think, still is my favorite thing to do. But at any rate, this episode was given to me by Braga, who said, this one is perfect for you. And it was a very non-typically Star Trek. It's not really as much science-based as so many of them are. So when I read it, I went, this is kind of like a thriller, Halloween movie, right? But very interesting, and Michael Westmore was super psyched to do it because we talked about it for months, how we were, weeks, sorry, I only had a few weeks before I saw it, what am I saying, months. You're given it and you have a couple of weeks to look at it. So anyway, here, that we're gonna watch some and then I'm gonna stop and I'll do some comments. I'm very happy, if you wanna call out a question or something, it's not gonna bother me unless, but because there are some specific things I'd love to talk about, but we only have so much time. But very, very few people in the world have directed TNG actors and iguanas and kittens. I'm just saying, it does take, right? I mean, it takes certain skills, like, it definitely does. And cats are, I mean, that scene where I get, he was just, Spot was great, and actually Spot and I had a great rapport. I did a lot of surgery on Spot, so he was right. All right, so without further ado, let's roll it.
She is beginning to engage in prenatal behavior.
Oh, she is getting close. You'll have a fresh litter of hungry kittens before the week is over. Let me just run an amniotic scan.
Can we stop there? So one of the things I was trying hard to do, I had always had this bug up my butt that they were, when you'd come into sickbay, it was just, you'd see like one patient or maybe two, and it looked like there was nobody there, and I'm like, on a ship with so many hundreds of thousands of people or thousands of people, you only have like 2 people on the beds. So I was trying by also doing choreography with the camera, like moving the camera around, going with me. I wanted you to see action that was happening in between, like in between Riker and Ogawa, that you could see that I was still over there with Barclay. And then it would reverse and I would do the same thing. And you wouldn't see the spikes until later, just like you didn't know that Data was carrying a cat. That was what I wanted to do as much as I could, and to keep Crusher moving all the time. Because I feel there were so many episodes where she was very static in sickbay. So that was something that I thought I tried to do, and I felt it worked pretty well. Moving around. So that you felt that, yes, there's activity going on in this space. People are talking to each other, we're finding out details about Ogawa's pregnant, and then it was just so perfect to have, I loved that part of the script very, very much. I loved the whole beginning part. And I thought that moving and really keeping movement going is what I wanted, because so many of the sickbay scenes for all the years we've done it were very static. So anyway, let's roll again. Well, we've seen this, yes. So, and I wanted a spaceship to go, oh. I thought a monologue here, just a little.
Space. The final frontier.
It is awesome, isn't it? No,
These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds.
That was my quarters right
To
there.
seek out new civilizations. To boldly go where no one has gone before.
To supervise the birthing process.
Oh, I'd be honored.
I have noticed that you are the only other member of the crew whom Spot seems to like.
Really? Not true, that's a lie.
That's right.
Such a sweetie.
Has she...
Note the pink collar. We had to have a collar.
A place?
And let's stop. So that was one of the hardest scenes to do because of Spot. And getting the pan, I really wanted to have them both over the chair and pan down. And Spot, I had to get Spot wanting to lick herself. So that was an event, okay? But anything you do with cats can be very difficult. And what was hilarious to me is, because I love cats, and I've had cats all my life, and you get them purring, and it's so easy. Spot was not happy that day, okay? And you could see by the face was like, my agent does not want me to do this. But I really just wanted, again, for me, I think it comes from choreography and movement, but I just loved the camera to just keep moving, have something where you're up and then you go down. And of course, in reality, it was not really a dark, secluded space. They don't exist in our quarters on the show. So we had to just sort of make it look like it was. And the reason we had to put the pink collar on was because later, when you see the iguana, you have to have a pink collar. So that was why. Okay, so let's continue. I loved that shot, his head underneath.
Thanks for waiting.
Caviar. For lunch.
I'm in the mood for something salty. Besides, it's no stranger than what you're eating.
He hated what he had to eat. Who wouldn't? He hardly eats anything. He's going primitive, yeah. And it's setting up the thing of drinking the water. Stop, can we stop? One of the things that was really, that was another brutal scene because, I mean, that stuff was gooky. The fish stuff, anytime we would do these large buffet scenes or you have a big thing, it's pretty awful. and the idea was for him to be, he's de-evolving, so he's just eating anything and everything, but it's pretty hard to do because unlike a feature film where they would have had somebody make sweet potato octopus so you could actually eat it or something, you know, they'd make it out of another material. We didn't have that kind of budget or time. So it was really, it smelled, it was awful, and so he just ended up playing with it and throwing the thing down. And then it was, obviously with the de-evolution being the theme, it's how do you lay it in, how do you set it in, and how subtle do you have to be. You only have 45 minutes to start to show that they're going back and de-evolving, which again, we're not clear of what's the science about all of this, so it just seems weird. But like even with Don't Stand So Close, I thought there were really good moments of how that would happen. Even though this whole episode is quite a leap of faith, let's be honest, but But at any rate, it was fun for me for various reasons, and one of those was the movement stuff that was happening. I also, I mean, using the background people, having them laugh, having them really do things was something I really wanted to do as well, because I feel there's a lot of times where there's really people are just, you can see people are pretend talking, and I wanted people to be laughing and actually like as if they were in a bar. Okay, now we cut to, I'll actually say my commentary first. So Michael, I wanted to show that he was just de-evolving, and his room was so pristine, and so I was looking at the plants, and this is a riot. He has his version. He hated this. I said, like, just like be digging in the plants, like there's a little moss, like you're looking for something else to eat. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. So he wasn't thrilled. He finally did, and he actually did some stuff that I loved, which they later cut out. I know. But at any rate, you'll notice the moss does get a moment on the floor by his bed. But this was a hard thing to do because you're suddenly going kind of crazy into destroying a mattress and doing all that. And we couldn't do take after take because it's a big mess to clean up and you have a mattress, so it's like gotta be done in one take. So it was, how is it happening? How is he, if you touch the walls and things like that, it makes a noise. We always had to be careful at that time. Unlike Picard, the sound was amazing in Picard. But in those days, anything made a noise. The plastic thing you put down, if you touched the wall with your fingernails, we'd have to redo that, the vocal, you know, it would just... So anyway, this is what we ended up with. The idea was hunting. I didn't, you know, he's hunting for something, but he doesn't know what. There it is, that moss.
The power fluctuation in the forward sensor cluster. Now we think it may
Stop for 1 second. At this time, by the way, this was the highest I think they'd ever shot. They were so great to do this. I'd asked for being way, way above so that then we could slowly come into it later. I wanted to get the feeling, a different angle that hadn't been used yet in the engine room. Anyway, I'm sorry, proceed.
Balance in the phase discriminator. Now what we want to do next is run a level 4 diagnostic, but we're going to have to shut down auxiliary power to 19 days. It's a minor adjustment.
So you see his fingers are starting to happen. Riker's getting slower. Barclay's going fast.
I'll look this over later. Go.
Keep you posted.
So stop a second.
We received a communication.
So one thing that is interesting in this episode is that, you know, a lot of times when there's, let's say, a virus like the Naked Now, it affects all of the crew in the same way. You know, we all start coming on to each other or something. But in this one, everyone was supposed to be feeling it in their own way because everyone de-evolves to be a different species, animal. And so that's what, that was a choice then. Okay, so then let's play this up. We have Barclay who's got suddenly, you know, he's got a spider's energy who moves so fast, right? And then the other creatures, they're becoming creatures that have a slower way of processing. So that was something that you have very little time to show, so you're trying to show that, and the actors were really great about it. But anyway, so that's what's going on. All right, here we go.
Communication from Starfleet.
Well, no, I talked to everybody in the cast and talked, you know, I said, this is what you're going to look like, this is what the makeup's going to look like, so this is what I want you to do. And I talked about certain people, I want you to use this when you move, and I want your rhythm to be this. And then obviously it's they're great actors, so they can pick up and do what they want. Yeah, was it hard directing people that you knew so well? And sometimes it was, and sometimes it wasn't. Patrick was difficult. And there's a scene that comes up much later that he absolutely didn't want to do, and then I said, but please, just do it, will you please? And he did it, and then later he said, yeah, you actually were right, it did work. But, you know, I mean, but it's that kind of thing. It's tricky, and keep in mind, in this particular episode, we had an earthquake, a massive earthquake, and we lost a lot of crew members who lost their houses. It was very, very difficult. So that was one of the things that happened, and that means money when you have to come in and hire new people. So that's why the episode cost a lot of money for various reasons. And but in the beginning, it was going great, and I was thrilled. It was very, you know, it was fun. It was fun to have more movement and do wackier, weirder things. And Michael Westmore and I were just very close. And I think it's the best makeup he did in 7 years, and he agrees. He feels it's the best makeup. And he wanted to nominate it for an Emmy, and the studio refused. And the editor wanted to nominate this episode for an Emmy, and the studio refused. They wanted the last episode, All Good Things, they wanted to push that. And Michael Westmore would have won if he had had the makeup for this. I mean, it was brilliant. It's unbelievable. Anyway, all right, here we go.
Some feel like they have fevers, others they're freezing like Counselor Troi. Call Dr. Solar and Dr.
Stop for a second.
Looks like
So, it was really, the original scene, now some of you will be very sad that I didn't shoot it that way, but the original scene in the script called for a bubble bath and Marina naked. I actually said no. I mean, that's changing the whole feeling of, you know, and I mean, you know, because it didn't seem right to me. I said, if she's having this thing, she's going to go and she's going to get hot water, and if we're de-evolving, you're going to try to, it's almost like a lizard skin than the uniform. And I always felt to see Troi in her uniform with hair coming off, piles of hair coming off, that would be so weird that it would be upsetting. I thought that could be much stronger and scarier than having her in a bubble bath trying to, you know, hold on to, right? But again, and they went along with that, which was really nice, because I felt it gave a weirdness to it, and you could see that Worf's character was trying to, he doesn't want to do it, but he does, and there's this whole thing, and I loved having him in the mirror. So there were a lot of really fun things, I thought, but it was complicated because he had his makeup on that you can't get water on. You know, everything is much more complicated than it looks when you're doing things that get into liquids, hair and makeup and all of that. Anyway, and Marina was a champ on this, because I said, this is what I'd like, and then, you know, you're going to be a lizard, and you're going to do this, and you're going to pop up and all, and she was game for it. Everybody was game for it. It was really, really nice. I mean, Jonathan, Patty, Marina, Patty, oh, they were great. You'll see. Anyway, here we go. Notice he's losing all speech. He doesn't talk.
Compound, almost like a venom sac. Worf, open your mouth.
It was really me doing the stunt. It was, yeah.
Women have begun exhibiting strange.
Notice her
behavioral
hands are
changes.
starting to.
I called for a level 2 security alert. You think we should go to a level 1?
I don't know. What do you think? Okay, sounds good. Then you'll take care of that security thing.
Yes, sir.
So I thought Jonathan did a fantastic job with just like, you know, just getting more and more his mind getting paralyzed. Dwight, I kept trying to hold him back. I swear. He would not I mean, I kept saying, I know we're gonna get there, but can you just take it down a notch? And he was so into being the spider. You know, it was very hard. I still feel there's a little over the top in that scene. But everyone else, it was like just starting to happen, and you get the feeling that this weird thing is going on, and you don't know what is really going on, but you're beginning to think you do. I think that's just because, I mean, really, the first one who goes is Worf, and the heartbeat thing, to me, is like a creature. It's like something that's there, and you don't know exactly where it's coming from, and that it's it has an ominous feeling to it. You know, I think that was more what it was about. Yeah, I mean, I think Worf is the one who starts the whole, he gets it, he and Barclay get it first. And they're using Klingon as, you know, Klingons already seem so out there for some of us that now what is a Klingon going to become? For Barclay, I mean, that's a huge leap to go that a humanoid is going to go into a spider. But what can I tell you? That's the script, folks, okay? So you know, that's what you get. And but there is comedy in it, which is also wonderful, I think, too. You know, there's a heightened reality of all of the animals. And then there's, all right, let's go on. He was asking about the heartbeat sound. There's a heartbeat sound. I mean, also the engine, it has a heartbeat sound, too. And I think it's just this thing of something, we don't know what it is. It's like very Edgar Allan Poe. There's a heart beating, and what the hell is it? Right. Telltale heart. Yeah, telltale heart. Here we go. I had wanted this to be darker, but we couldn't do it. We weren't able to.
Any sign of the crew?
I cannot access internal sensors from here. We will have to go to the bridge.
One of the things that, it was great in the script, it was that you had never seen the Enterprise in the darkness, that there were smells, that there was excrement, sort of like things dropping, like a dog or something on the carpet, because the ship was always pristine, right? Every surface. So I wanted it to have impact, and I really wanted to try to show some of that, especially since they had the handheld lights. But the studio didn't want to go that way. So it was lighter than I wanted, and I was not allowed to show as much of the dishevelment. And I think I wanted also to have some feeling, even if this the smell, you know, that where are we? This is the Enterprise, what is going on? Because that would be very freaky. It's like coming home to a place that this is your home and you walk in and there's just, it's bedlam. So anyway, so here we go. I got a blanket in the corridor at least. The water dripping, yeah. You notice she had different color contexts there as well. Everything was detailed. She was great when she did all that. Definitely wanted the seats askew, all of that sort of thing. This is one of my favorite scenes coming up. How good he is. So, what you have to know is it took so long to get people into their makeup. It really wasn't that incredible makeup though. I mean, and I loved the shot where we just see his eye turning, and I wanted to have him like in the ready room so that, you know, he's looking at the fish or whatever. I always thought that was amazing. My son also, when he was growing up, my real son, always loved that fish. But what Jonathan did with his movement was really, really exactly what I'd hoped for. It was fabulous, I thought. Because it's hard also to stay for so many hours in the makeup, and they never, you know, we were delayed. I can't remember what it was that was this, there was a scene before that had taken a long time. And anyway, he was so game, and he waited, and I just loved what he did in that scene. I thought it was really terrific. Did the studio give me pushback of how much gore there was in the episode? when I first saw the script, I thought, well, it's fun. There's going to be these, you know, everyone's an animal, and I could see the fun in it. It was sort of like the way Sub Rosa is. Is that Star Trek? I don't know. Okay, but at any rate, I think there could have been a lot more gore. So I definitely was not just given a carte blanche on things. I had to do it a certain way, and I had to make it so that, you know, it was a phaser that hurt him, you know, and that leap I thought was good, because obviously there would not be a great communication. All the creatures were feeling threatened. And then, of course, the big question is, when is Picard going to get affected by this virus that's going all over? It was tricky because there was a lot of violence in a way in this episode, but that was the script, you know. And I didn't want to make anything salacious, but I thought it had to have some element of being scary, or it wasn't going to work at all. I thought it was pretty frightening to come back and have everyone, no one is the way they were before. Yeah, when the music's at, well, the music is basically going to be the producers much more. I could come, he said, how involved is a director, or any directors, with when the music can come in and not? I think, I mean, the music people were so great, they kind of got it. You have to wait until it's edited. And I worked with JD, and we edited together this whole thing. We sat together, because he was teaching me, and it was terrific. I really loved working with him. It's sort of it's kind of obvious when they want to do it. Now, if I had found one time where I said, please don't do that, I don't know, maybe they would have listened, maybe they wouldn't have. But basically, that wasn't my job. The music people, that goes more through the producers, right? But for me, it's working with angles of the camera, how fast the scenes take place, and it, you know, it's tricky because you only have 45 minutes, and people are becoming creatures that do not think the way they think. So, let's go on. Now notice where Data uses these jars that for 7 seasons were never used. I wanted to have an angle that went up to the top of sickbay because that was something I had never seen, so I was really happy about that too. And I wanted sickbay to be messy with all sorts of beds and everything.
It would appear that Spot has had her kittens.
My favorite scene.
I'm curious as to why Spot is not caring for them. What is it?
So the kittens, my recollection is oh, I know. You should take a bow, dude, because, I mean, it was tricky because sometimes, you know, the camera would be rolling and then it would just want to go, you know? So it was tricky. I'd never directed an iguana before. I had directed many kittens for home videos, but not for, but anyway, my recollection is we shot the kitties, the little kittens, at another time because we didn't want to have any kittens being inadvertently hurt. So that was done at a different moment. We could just put a Data's hand in, and then that worked because that's a lot to have an iguana and, you know, 6 kittens in the same room. All right, yes.
So in the earlier scene, some people had a front zipper versus a back. There was a difference in uniform. Was that affected by the earthquake?
You know, that might be. I don't know that that is true or not. I really don't. There were so many things going on at that time. I'm sure that someone in wardrobe could answer that for you. But no, I didn't. That wasn't something that I asked for or was particular.
Thank you.
Are you all right, Captain? I have these intense feelings of fear and panic. I feel as if I were being watched. I can't explain it. You may be experiencing the initial stages of your transformation.
So I love what Patrick did there because it really, that jarred him into starting his de-evolution and the fear of Barclay's spider. The prop man was one. I loved Will Toms, and he let me, you know, show him where I wanted to have the spiders' webs and everything. And the sad part for me, really sad, was I wanted Barclay to drop. And the studio said no, it's, you know, let's just have him hop up. And it's very different. It would have been so much scarier to have him just drop down, you know, to be on the top, because no one's expecting anything like that. But the scene still, I hope, was scary, you know. But that to me is that is like the scene where we really see the danger of this thing and how frightening it is, and how this is in the engine room. I mean, we have to do something or else we're lost. And I also really loved the difference between the android, who is just perfectly calm as he's watching Picard, you know, start to, you know, saying, yes, you're starting to de-evolve now, and this is happening. I loved that kind of, the two of them together in that. So let's push on. Look at that makeup. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. She was so good.
Nurse Ogawa's embryo. What was that? It is large. Approximately 200 kilograms.
Stop a second. So that scene with the door actually was really hard, because it's a special door that they had to make, and you can't keep shooting it and bring back different doors. So we had to do it really concisely. But there's always problems with things like that. It's just one of those things. But I loved how Patrick was. You definitely see it in it's subtle, but it's very much there, of something that is going to be an animal that's different, and the fear, and also trying to overcome the fear. I also, you'll notice as it goes further with Data in there, that notice I had lots of creatures on the bed that had blankets over them. I just wanted the ship to seem as different as possible from the normal, beautiful, clean, happy almost ship, right? I mean, I always felt it was a happy ship, and this is like not happy. It's like, you know, we're gonna need a hell of a cleaning crew. Okay, let's go on.
Be certain the stun setting will have any effect on it.
See all the bodies?
Kill it. Mating instinct is quite strong in Klingon biology. I am not certain what would be an effective lure.
That's an understatement.
Klingons have got a very powerful sense of smell.
A little theater magic there. So, you know, it was really hard for Michael Dorn to have this huge thing on his head. He couldn't see easily. It was very hard to do things in. So I think he had a rough time of it, just because it's hot. You don't have any space to breathe. It's really easy. But I think he did a really great job with it. And I do. And what's hard is, you know, it's trying to do something that you don't really have like a lot of time to create a whole movement for an animal. You know, you could improvise a little, but it's very hard to do really, really well. And so, again, you're going through the corridors, and how fast is he able to move? You almost have to slow things down, because you're sort of going, no, your creature you can't move that fast. A spider would move that fast, but maybe you wouldn't. I did love the one-arm pull-up of Picard. That was cheating, of course. But you know, I think, again, it's like a spooky show. That's I think more of what it was to me than in the same way that Sub Rosa was kind of some weird, you know, I don't know what you call that, but at any rate, you know, that's the thing. It's like people will say, why did you just say that line there? It's because that's in the script. You know, that's part of the fun of it, and so you really want to embrace it. And I embraced it. I had a fabulous time. I loved trying to figure out all the creatures and have them in there. And I wanted to be as different on the ship. That was really one of the main things. I wanted it to be a different atmosphere. I wanted it to be spooky. And I hope it was. All right, here we go.
Dr. Crusher has determined that the synthetic T-cell she used to cure Mr. Barclay's Urodelan flu initiated the intron virus which swept through the ship.
So this is my fault?
No. In a way, it's mine.
I think there was a lot of humor in the show. There was, I thought. Barclay's character was hilarious, being the hypochondriac and everything, and it was perfect that he starts the whole thing along with me. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Are there more questions? I'm happy to take some questions. What was the scene that Patrick didn't want to shoot? Well, there were a couple things, but I'll tell you the one that was so silly in a way. I think it's because, I don't know why exactly, but the camera shows different things, and as an actor, like on a stage, it wouldn't feel the same way, right? So, for example, when he was coming out, he was going to pull open the one door. Worf is there. He has to be quiet. Patrick wanted to just start, and I said, no, I need another shot to set it up and make it really clear, so just go to the other side and hide back there as you're getting the idea of when to spray, and then you start going. It just gives the audience a second, and it gives characters a second to lock into it. And he thought it would just, like, no one would do that, and I'm like, I think it's going to work, and it does work, I think. And because you need a little bit of time. If he had just gone immediately and started spraying and left, I wanted that moment between the two of them and having Worf smell it. And it was really hard for Michael Dorn. I mean, doing some of that stuff with this big thing on. Yeah, I thought it was nice how you just then transition and everybody's looking beautiful again and they're coming back and the lights are on and it's all good, you know? And we're all like, oosh, wow, thank God, right? And meanwhile, poor Crusher, she had acid all over her face, but she had a whole, you know, put in the pod, and she was just out of commission, came back and she missed it all. And she still had the, you know, well, I didn't have a wig on there, that was my hair, but whatever. Another question? Directing the animal, there always animal handlers on sets. That has to be that way. Because usually there were two cats that looked like Spot. There were two Spots. And I think this Spot was the one who was a little grumpy that day. But yes, you always have to do that. And the person who brought the iguana, I mean, the iguana was the trickiest one because, you know, there's not like you're giving them little special treats and saying, come on, purr for us, you know. But, so that was definitely someone who was the handler for that iguana. And it was tricky because we couldn't get it to stay still a couple of times. And that's what we wanted, was to just pan out and the iguana was still. Yes, you always have to have, there are laws about that now, which are very important because there were so many animals abused in early days of cinema because nobody protected them, you know. Another question? I have the feeling that's why they did that. They often do that. They minimized Crusher the first time because they knew it was going to be complicated because of all the big changes. It's not like, you know, like the set, there were big setups, you know, we had to change the way it looked, we had big makeup things. So they got me out of it. I shot pretty much all my sickbay scenes, I think, right away. It might have even been in the, you know, whatever day I shot the beginning and the end ones all in the same time, so that then I could just focus. And then I looked like hell with no hair and makeup practically the next days I was shooting. But the hardest part was we had the earthquake, then there were like 5 days where the studio had to shut down. They had leaks in the studio and things happened. And then it's coming back and you've kind of lost the energy. It was tricky. That was I think, that was too bad, you know? I don't know what the time is. I don't want to hold anyone. Are we all right? I'm happy to take questions, yes. Do I think I got more or less pushback or help from the studio when I directed? Well, you know, it's complicated. When we started, I believe I had more directing experience than anyone in the cast. I had done a lot of theater, and I had directed when I was a professor at the universities. For the grad school, I would direct plays, and I had done Labyrinth and a couple other things. But it was harder. At that time, they definitely were not, we had male directors almost all the time, for years. And I think, you know, it's different now, thankfully. It's much different now. But at that time, I could not walk into Rick Berman's office like Jonathan could and just flop down on the couch and say, hey, what's happening? Because it would look like I was coming on to him. You know, what are you going to the producer's office and throwing yourself on the couch, right? It was hard. It was even hard in academia, because you know you want to go out and have a beer with a colleague, nothing to do with flirting. Just this is a colleague. We work together, but it's going to look like we're doing something. So I think it was much more difficult then. I couldn't come in and have that kind of. It was much more of a male camaraderie for me. I did feel that. On the other hand, I loved everybody. So it's not like anyone was doing anything, oh, let's get her. It's just the way it was. And you have to be careful, because I've had a lot of times in my life where a male who's a superior position than me has misinterpreted my friendliness. So you have to be careful. So yeah, it was a little tricky, I would say. And also it was, I mean, I wish it hadn't taken so long. I wish I had been able to be, yeah, I think it was harder being a woman. I definitely do. Well, thank you all very, very much. And I hope we all have a nice, great night. I love you all. You're really great folks. I love it. Thank you for coming. Thank you very, very much.